So, I've been enjoying Usually Hapless's annual turn by turn, and this year he's playing a great scenario that he's put together in the Cold War game, but with a twist. So it's set in Iran using the NTC tile set. This got me picking back up a project I'd given up some time ago where I was trying to replace the US olive greens with Choc Chip camo. I'm still unsure if this camo was in common issue for that period, but I've parked that seeing as it's a hypothetical conflict. And using Operation Bright Star as a reference, so this is an exercise I found out about with what I think was the actual US unit, so the 82nd. Put this together, so it's a bit of a Frankenstein, bits taken from Shock Force, and what you get is a replacement for the infantry units. So that's full uniform, helmet, and I've had a go adding jungle boots. So hope you enjoy. Okay, so this is going to be the second in the series of showcase of modifications, and this one is based around the Cold War game. And what I've done, so this mission, probably familiar for people who've played through the campaign, is the first mission of the American campaign, but what I've done is convert it in the scenario editor to the NTC tile set to allow us to play in desert environment instead of European environment. And I've got my friend along again. Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna try and play through slightly casually, hopefully a little more showcasey than the British video, because I've watched them back and I'm fully aware that I mostly play and I don't really look at what I've built. And so we'll try and get some look at what it actually looks like. We'll try and have a bit of fun playing on a basic, just looking at it from a tactical perspective, and we might see some interesting things, but the difference between fighting in a desert environment and a European environment. So I've played through the campaign and I know how things sort of happen in this. I have a rough idea how things happen. I will try my very best to not let that creep in, and we'll try and work through as a new attempt to the scenario with no experience or things. The briefing itself I've skipped through because I suppose the opening part is almost like a journal of the character in the actual campaign. And we'll just look at the objectives quickly, the tactical map, and then a bit of the ground, and start talking through how to actually tackle it. So our objectives, we've got 3 waves of friendly forces that are going to be withdrawing through the area. So first mission objective is to exit those from the map. Second one is to hold objective Whiskey until the end, if we can. This one we're giving in as an optional. It's not. I don't believe it's hold to the bitter end. It's not going to be to the death, and it certainly isn't in the campaign. Or something you have to hold to the death because you have a campaign ahead of you. And then the last one is keep friendly losses as low as possible. Again, you're going to need them later in the campaign. So, tactical map. The only thing I suppose to draw the attention to is this has woodlands, and we don't really have woodlands when we go into the NTC tile set, but it's not too bad to orient you to the ground. So we come in from this end in our company, and we can look at what we've actually got when we load up the game, but we come in from this end. We will have friendly forces coming from the opposite end, pulling back, so withdrawing to the exit. There is unknown enemy forces in the area of, so this is a hilltop and this is the actual town itself, and then the friendly forces are basically being pursued back. So at some point we're expecting a Russian battle group of some form, a mixture of armour and infantry, mechanised infantry following them.
We don't know precisely when they're due to arrive.
I'll double check. I'm not sure if it gives any hints. We might and I want to avoid it, we might be able to figure out from reading something like this, which I'm holding up to you. So this has one thing in the. So I'm looking at a field manual 100-1, so the Soviet Army operations and tactics, and I think in there, if I skim through, that has phases of operation and things. So the expectation of how long you can expect the enemy battalion attack, or I'm skimming through here. Here you go. So there's no times on that. I wish I could have sworn there was times somewhere. But this is the sort of order of march you typically get with the Russian, it's the USSR, sorry. So the Soviet forces we're facing tend to be broken up into these recce patrol, forward security element, and the main body.
Right.
I think when we're looking at this map here, this I could imagine this is like the recce patrol, and then we're either going to be followed up with a larger forward security element or the actual main
so
body.
the recce patrol already be there on the map.
Yes,
in advance.
but we believe so. These question marks, these two, that's rough idea of where we're expecting the enemy to be up on the hill and in the town somewhere potentially.
So is the priority to defend our support forces exiting?
So I think that's something we can discuss when we get to the map.
Okay.
And it'll be a good way to think about how aggressive we want to be, or how defensive, or how we're gonna do it. But I've spotted it. Here you go. So in terms of the build-up of firepower, I suppose you can think of the recce. They're here now.
Yeah.
The FSC. So that's the forward. What was it? The forward security element. That's roughly 20 minutes potentially. And then if we're looking at the main body, this could be as long as an hour into it. I don't think we've got an hour though, so it could potentially just be a slightly larger forward security element that we come up.
Do you know why in their doctrine they have like that gradual build up? Why?
I'm not going to go into it. There's a much better video. I tried to do it in my very first one, but there's a fantastic video that I'll probably I'll dump a link in.
Right.
I loved it. It's this fantastic explanation, and it really, because some people I think were having difficulty playing as the Soviets,
Right.
understanding how to actually use this big unwieldy organisation. There's lots of moving parts, lots of stuff going on, and there's a fantastic video that I couldn't do better with. Better than myself. But yeah, it's sort of I don't want to go too deep into it without looking at this.
Okay.
But it is a subject for another video.
That sounds intriguing.
Yeah. Where were we? But that's the tactical map we're given. Those are the objectives. So get those units withdrawing out, hold objective whiskey, and keep our losses to a minimum.
Right.
And
Okay.
the best thing is probably to go to the map now. So that first thing that we're talking about is the exit. So
That's the exit. Yeah, where we currently are.
yes. So
withdrawing forces will be heading towards that direction, and we've
Yes.
got to keep control of point whiskey.
yes. So and I'll jump over to here. So we're expecting friendly forces to come off this autobahn or motorway.
Yeah.
They're going to come in on this side of the map.
Being pursued
Being
by the
pursued.
main body of presumably the main body of Soviet force.
Yes, but the problem you've got is
There's already an element in the town of.
so you're yes, exactly. So there's a potential that you could just you could just smash them up the motorway and hope for the best, but it's whether there's any blocking forces.
Yeah.
You could... That didn't work. Oh, I was trying double clicking, but it didn't work. You could weave your way through the town, and there's multiple entries and exits, and so you can see exit, exit, exit.
Yeah.
So there's lots of, and you don't necessarily have to use a road. If you really wanted to, there's nothing stopping you busting through this fence up the hill.
Okay.
Or if you want, so, and it's more obvious on the desert.
Yeah.
But
It's a hill there, isn't it?
there's a hill up to here, and there is a sort of dirt track that you can follow all the way along here, potentially break out this direction. I suppose that part is...
Well, I'd say that the obvious thing straight away is there's going to be a blockage on the motorway, isn't there? Or almost certainly where that bridge is, because it seems like a good position to attack and defend from.
Potentially, yep.
I'd say because we're not actually defending a town, or we're not with the retreating force, or we're not doing concentrated attack. I think really to minimise losses, I'd break up the forces into as many into.
There is. I suppose that might be. That's almost like an every man for himself approach, which could work as almost like a reverse reconnaissance. So you're feeling your way forward.
Yeah.
And if these guys run into problem, well, don't go that way.
Yeah. Well, you're not.
If these guys run into problem, don't go that way.
You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, are you? That's
potentially that's one way to think of it. I think the other thing you get, so. Well, actually, if you don't mind, we'll come back onto this as a think about the route out of here. But okay. I suppose the other thing to consider is objective whiskey itself. So this is on the sort of plateau, top of this hill, looking down into
the desert.
Down into the desert. Either side, you've got views. Is it a spur? This see this sort of shape here. Yeah. So it looks down that direction. It looks down that direction. It looks down that direction. This is a point that we're supposed to hold. Right. Not to the. I wouldn't say to the bitter end, but you're encouraged to, and you get victory points for holding this.
Right.
And then the last one is try and maintain a certain level of control on your casualties, so you're not looking to lose lots of it in the campaign. This is mission 1 of 10 or something. Okay. So and you don't really, I can't recall exactly, but with campaigns what you tend to find is you don't necessarily get full reinforcements. You don't, if someone dies, they die. And then you have to.
It will be in real life.
Yeah. You are short staffed is a terrible word, but you're undermanned going into the next mission or the next mission or the next mission. So
for me as a sort of like total novice, the obvious question is, with my limited military knowledge, is do we have any artillery?
We have it. So we've got a forward observer, and we have. So we've got 3 mortar, 2 of which are 107 mil, and 1 is 81 mil. So I think that would, and don't I'm uncertain of the actual level. So you can have platoon mortar, company mortar, battalion mortar. I couldn't say on an organisation where they sit. But we've got these 3 here, and then So there's two barrels on the first one, 2 on the second, and 3 on the third. So in effect, you've got four barrels 107, 3 barrels 81, and I think it's the difference. So a dumb way to look at it may be bigger explosion, smaller explosion,
right. But more
ammunition because it weighs less. Yeah. I don't know, something like that.
These artillery units are off map, are they? They
are, yeah. Right. In this.
Okay. So,
I don't think any turn up. Yeah. I think so. In terms of the guys withdrawing, I think there is I don't know if it's spoiling, but there is 3 waves, I believe. I don't believe any of them are mortars or anything like that.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to say is like that spare of land. I've noticed when you zoom in and out, there's a building there. So is that where you'd potentially put your forward observer, like right there? Or is that an obvious target for the enemy? But
I wouldn't say it's a bad spot at all. I think.
Because it's quite far away, isn't it? And it's,
you could, and you don't even. I know it's got a rooftop that you can sit up on the balcony.
Yeah.
You could just sit in the window and set yourself up there quite happily.
I think you'd be probably safer inside.
And I think. We've got 2 forward observers. So one of them is part of this platoon. And one of them is part of the company level.
Yeah.
So, and I'll just check quick. So they both have
access to the artillery.
Yeah, they're not restricted in which one they can call in. So the platoon doesn't have to call in a lower level asset. It can call in anything, basically. Okay. I don't know if it has...
So can we start placing the units now, or do we...
We could do. I think one thing I wanted to... We'll have a quick look at the ground first.
Yeah.
I'd probably come up with a bit of a game plan about how we want to get them out.
Well, the thing I thought of is if you go back to that bridge by the town, it's like... I mean, that's like... That I mean, it could be a red herring, and I'm obsessing too much about it, but that seems like the obvious place to me where if I was a Russian, I had to put like a tank on the top or something like that. So
underneath,
yeah. Underneath, yeah. So there's no airstrike, yeah. So
potentially, I suppose it is, and it's whether you want to get into the mindset of the Soviet commander, whether he's expecting to have bypassed units that are themselves going to be at his rear.
Well, I think that, I don't know if it's Soviet doctrine or just like any military commander would think, well, the most expedient way is to go up the motorway to get out of this situation. So they'd assume they're coming up the motorway, wouldn't you? Sort of the arterial road. So it's like what I'd probably do. I mean, this is like very, obviously it's subject to change, but I mean, what I'd do is go as far along the motorway as I could and just like then totally avoid that bridge to go cross country from that point on, and also it's avoiding the town,
potentially. I mean, you could. I think there tends to be like 3 options: left, centre, right.
Yeah.
And I think we did that last time. So you could kick out left down this road and hope. It's how much exposure you. So you've got a bit of this this industrial, I don't know, sand and gravel.
Yeah, like a
but
sort of
then very quickly you're in the open.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much cover anywhere though, is there?
No,
really.
There is a certain amount of rolling hills, which to some extent. So down at this level, for instance, you lose sight of the mountain top or the hilltop over there. and you are in. I Go on.
I was going to say that's what happened. Like that last, I basically said a similar thing to what I'm saying now. It's like avoid that, and then we just got totally sniped, didn't we?
We did all right. we figured out which way they were going to come, but we didn't. Was it a draw? I can't remember. Anyway,